Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be looking more of Text Talks Battletech, specifically the second half of the Amaris Civil War. Right now we're on part 3 of this dive into this giant pile of, oh god, what the fuck Amaris? You know, that thing. Yeah, last time around he's consolidated his power. He still hasn't really got into open conflict yet. Well, conflict has happened, but not just the Civil War. It's more the, I'm in charge, what you gonna do about it, bitch, stage. I'm assuming lots of bullets will be what Kerensky does with it. And probably nukes. Lots of nukes. Many nukes. Although I think that's more of an Amaris thing. I'm not really sure how many nukes he used on the other side. We're going to find out. Because, I mean, it's Battletech. Nukes. Nukes everywhere, man. That's the only thing I've learned about that usage so far. If I'm wrong, I'm probably going to hear about it. And, you know, listen, because people know more than I do about this, and it's kind of cool to hear. So, yeah, I'm weird. I actually like reading the comments. Yeah, I know that's weird on YouTube. Yeah. Still, you guys know the deal. Link below, original video. Hit it up. And when you're done, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. And for anyone wondering if I sound a bit different than the last time I did one of these videos, it's because I feel a goddamn lot better. Seriously. Wasn't COVID. Thank God for that. Was a sinus infection. But meds help. I feel so much better. It's going to be like, wee, getting to jump into something I love and not feel like shit. As opposed to last time, where I just felt like shit, but I still got to jump into something I love. It's like, this is just really fun. You guys know the deal. Links below. Hit them up. Let's get started.
For to occupy a nation, as stated before, is one thing, but to reshape
free Fiesta Pale on joining.
That takes time.
People keep telling me about it.
As stated earlier,
freeze-dried Tex-Mex.
The hegemony security forces, Mexican. And those began rapidly forming huge contingents on every occupied hegemony world, recruiting most heavily from those least
they're literally
loyal to
just being there as
least loyal to the Camerons and most swayed
they're
by
red shirts.
money
They're basically
or the
red
promise
shirts
of power.
Oh, God.
Amaris also formed the Director General's Office of Policy and Doctrine.
Oh, that doesn't sound like
this
it's a bunch of
or less
political enforcers.
An exported extension of Amaris's practice in his homeland. A political officer's corps to police wrong.
See, yeah. Him doing that here makes sense. The fact that he was doing it back in his homeworlds, I actually wasn't aware of that. I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you're this kind of autocratic assholery, and have apparently been for generations of it. Yeah, having a political core that says, okay, you will follow the party line or else, is basic Dictator 101. I'm not really surprised that Texas clarified, yes, no, he's done this before coming to Terra, but it's kind of cool to hear that, oh yeah, no, this is not new. He knows how to run these things, which is still kind of more surprising that he's doing so many heavy-handed things when actually, no, never mind. It makes perfect sense because he didn't have to establish the methods that allowed the heavy-handed back in his own domain because his previous generation predecessors would have actually established those before him. So he really got all the benefit of having a broken down civilization that just bends to your whim without question because multiple generations of people broken down to the previous leader's whims. It does kind of stack up after a while.
Wrong thing. And boys and girls, Amaris hated wrong thing.
Oh.
Amaris punished wrong thing.
Not surprising.
And wrong thing was defined as anything Amaris didn't like.
We've always been at war with Eurasia.
To eliminate any anti-Amaris sentiment, OPD officers were placed in every government office and building across the hegemony to ensure total compliance with every new governmental policy and memorandum.
System.
OPD officers bugged public and private places, eavesdropped on all conversation, monitored all communications traffic, and watched with practiced eyes all actions taken by any citizen of this new empire.
From a logistics standpoint, that is so much manpower meant on just security to monitor people that the only way this is feasible is, well, before I go into that, when you're just thinking, okay, one person can focus on one thing at a time. So either they're going really fast and being very sloppy and tons of things get through, and then people get killed because a lot of things he doesn't want to go through. Or functionally, they have to overreact to so many things intentionally, not for the sheer shock value of it, but because doing anything else would take too long. So it's probably you said bad thing about Amaris. Your family must die. Why? Because we literally don't have the time to go out and just find you. We're just going to find anyone who kind of looks like you, and then they die. Like, fuck this specific town because this person. Not because we're evil, we are, but because it's literally easier. Functionally, I fully expect to hear that's going to be a thing that happens.
And under their gaze. Suspicion
Whenever you're
alone
that
was enough to
into
warrant
it, it's
severe
like the Panopticon
reprisals.
If you
The Terra
actually have
hegemony
eyes on
was now,
everyone,
in
you're
essence,
overwhelmed.
little more
You
than
just want
a
people to think you
garrisoned,
do.
heavily occupied police state.
Yep.
Internal security policing actions resulted in the formation of enormous gulags, over which 200,000 were sent the first
Only?
year alone.
Oh.
Few,
Okay, never mind.
if any,
Only the
ever
first.
returned. Amaris's goons
Yeah, that sounds
promised
more-
great monetary rewards for reporting traitors, disloyal citizens, outspoken critics, or even the barest suggestion of subversive activity. Soon, friends and family turned on each other out of desperation or fear.
Yeah. Okay, that actually makes more sense. It's not actually the Panopticon. He's going for the good old-fashioned police state. Why do the job yourself when you can have other people do the job themselves? And if you don't do the job yourselves, then you're a traitor yourself and should have been thrown away, isn't it? Well, yes. Yeah, okay, so he's not doing so much prison as he is Soviet control. Actually, not really even Soviet control. More, I think it was Eastern Germany. Yeah, that sounds more accurate.
Here, the state
Everybody's being
was
watched.
all, and
Even if you're not, you're
Comrade
being watched.
Amaris was the state. By April of that year, Amaris had formally begun the recruiting and training of some 30 divisions
That
to
is so
replace
messy.
and reinforce his holdings on the hegemony. They were raised from hegemony worlds, but trained, led, and equipped by Rimworld's Republic forces.
And I'm sure there's
Every
nothing in them that
defensible
would
position
explode if
on
they ever
any
betrayed them.
garrisoned world was turned into a massively reinforced fortress. The streets
I
of
mean,
the
they
hegemony
never
were
was.
now policed by men rewarded for brutality and wiping out even the barest notion of dissent with overwhelming violence.
Called it. Not how I expected it, but I kind of expected to the point where dissent isn't so much monitored and policed as murdered on sight, which is basically what we got here. Maybe not entirely as I thought. He's doing more of a military aspect to it. But yeah, no, that's kind of how you eventually have to do it. If you're going to go full-on evil empire, you don't have leeway to actually have a police state. You got to be way worse than that. You got to be full-on authoritarian assholery. So it's less Russia and more Kazakhstan.
Reports of death squads roaming
Close
the
though.
street became commonplace. Outspoken individuals, former SLDF officers, their families and friends all disappeared or fled.
Oh.
Those who criticized the regime or its
Oh,
actions
they're
were
about to
swiftly
have
erased
massacre a
from
bunch of
history.
people.
Amaris's
protesting.
regime had no place for fence-sitters. You were either pro-Amaris, or you were fucking dead.
I mean, I want to say they're building up Amaris as the bad guy here, and he is. But this is also literally what Starleague did to the periphery. Amaris might deserve it, but everywhere else in the periphery, they even pointed out early on, by they I mean Tex in the previous video, Starleague's formation was doing this to the periphery. So, yes, it's bad, but also, oh yeah, they're just burning the bodies in the background. Oh, I just noticed that. That is fucked up. It's kind of weird how the most fucked up thing that they have actually already done is literally the part they don't see. Ugh. Yeah. I don't even want to say it's payback because it's generationally separated. It's just, yeah. Everyone gets to be fucked up in this case. Every side gets to just take part in being the oppressed and the oppressor. Fuck everyone. Yeah, that is a Battletech thing, though. No one is perfectly good.
Mercenaries
always
loyal to
on either
Amaris
end.
were used to conduct the least tasteful work, or at least the work that
Wait.
required a certain essence of...
Antilles Lagos, General, Commander of the Greenhaven Gestapo, Amaris Empire, and Armed Forces Strategic Operatives Director. Sorry, I'm just still working over the fact that Tex said there was things that he wouldn't make his regular soldiers do.
plausible deniability. For unsavory purposes, Amaris had retained the infamous mercenary unit, the Greenhaven.
Wait. He actually doesn't want things he can say, I did this? Oh, that's just weird. Sorry, I'm coming at this from the perspective of, if you're going to go full evil, there's the polite fiction that's like, no, I wouldn't actually torture people in front of their children and make them just constantly stub their toe one time after the other, never healing, but never actually fading, so they constantly have the pain of a stubbed toe, gradually overwhelming their madness. There's that level of evil, and yes, I did steal that from a Shen comic. There's that level of evil. This is what I expected. But now we're going, no. I want to deny I would do that. Instead of, I'm doing this. I was expecting more, I'm doing this, but here's the fiction. As opposed to, there's the fiction, and I'm going to pretend I'm not doing this, as well as everyone else. His entire position so far is based on not actually needing the plausible deniability. Oh, the only reason you need plausible deniability is when you're attacking people who are yet not at war. So this is probably to deal with the houses and their, I guess, spies and people who would be aware of the situation in his territory, and probably external to that so far.
Haven Gestapo. They were at first just a group of highly morally flexible advisors to Stefan Amaris, but
Wait, they
he
actually
found
advised him?
their contributions in taking the hegemony worth rewarding. Ruthless and efficient, the mercs were exactly what Amaris prized. Later on, their war crimes would be a permanent scar on his regime.
I want to make a joke about how war crimes in Battletech. Those never actually stack up. And then I'm like, wait. This is Tex. He knows what he's saying. Compared to all the shit that happens next and before, this is the war crimes that stain Amaris. Okay. When your war crimes stand out against the background of Battletech's war crime o'clock, that ain't good.
As stated, the Greenhaven Gestapo was instrumental in the seizing of main
choking
Terran
that person,
government
or
buildings, in
dollars
displays of
coming out of the
savagery and brutality
Oh,
much in
yeah,
line with
gun to the head.
Amaris's designs. However, once they were turned on the civilian population, things quickly degenerated into looting, pillaging, and murder in the name of state security.
So basically,
As they were mercenaries
standard
at heart,
mercenary.
the Greenhaven Gestapo decided to make some quick coin and sacked Rome. Why? Well, it was the mercenary tradition long-standing at that time through centuries back to sack Rome, as Rome was historically always a good choice for quick cash and good ransom. Being largely undefended with little in the way of organized resistance, Rome quickly bent to their occupation.
Did someone actually draw a
And
Roman
as history
citizen,
will indicate,
like
they
location,
ran amok
but just put
in the
Battletech in
Papal
it?
States.
That's actually really
For
cool.
example, one of their commanders had a portrait of himself spray-painted over the Sistine Chapel. When 750 Catholic monks had a...
Oh. Okay. Sorry, I'm so used to all the locations being fantastical that the inclusion of real places and real locations are like, oh, this is someone's edit. No, it's the original. This is actually where they fought because this is Earth. This is Terra. Shit is going down in places that exist. Also, the Sistine Chapel still existed that long? Holy shit, man. I'm actually impressed.
A hunger strike in the square, a member of the Greenhaven Gestapo blocked them in with his rampage and stomped them flat.
Yeah.
And then they went further with their fun. They then arrested the Pope after he refused to point out priests who were disloyal to the regime.
Wait, I thought there still was a Pope.
3 years
in current
later,
Battletech,
they
not just
murdered the Pope
Civil War
after
era.
he refused to cooperate.
And he's dead, yeah.
Through his mercs, Amaris didn't just target Catholics either. Amaris was, after all, a true atheist and decided the universe was a neater place without the complexities of an organized religion.
Oh.
His death squads oppressed all.
Gonna be completely honest here. I know they're probably making Amaris look like probably Stalin, actually, considering his tactics and the atheism enforced. But I was really expecting to say that he would have, well, personally been an atheist, paid lip service to one that would have got people to listen to him up until this point. Just because, you know, easy way to get people to listen to you sometimes when you say the things they want to hear. I'm actually kind of surprised he went full on, I'm an atheist and I'm going to act on it. I mean, he's doing it for unprincipled reasons, but I was really expecting him to go full on, yes, I will tell them exactly what they want and they won't even question me, which is literally what he does in all other places. So it's kind of weird to hear that he's not doing it here. He's definitely being modeled on Stalin then.
For he had room for only one form of worship.
Him?
The person and glory of Stefan Amaris.
Okay, so
All
yeah,
others
no,
were
less Russia, more
impediments
North
to his
Korea.
operations. Such impediments were removed
Is that a giant
with
laser cannon in the
ruthless
chest? What
precision.
even is that model?
Soon enough, the everyday citizen of his new empire would find themselves under his whip. Amaris made hugely unrealistic demands from the population at large, but all the more from its workers and factories.
Yeah.
Workers were brutally beaten, tortured, and executed for failing to meet insane projected production schedule.
The thing about that is, part of the reason this is evil is because you can always get rid of people. It's like, oh, well, you failed, you lose. But those who succeed are the most ruthless, who fuck over everyone else, so you get the most ruthless people rising to the top. Because anyone honest can't do it because it's impossible. And that seems to be what Amaris prizes. But more importantly, it also gives him a form of political capital. Not with the you survived aspect or the yes, listen to me or I'll kill you aspect. That's just there regardless. It's in the once people get used to the status quo of fuck, we're fucked. You know that. Whenever you fail, which you have no choice but to fail, and you're so used to that you think it's normal, being allowed to survive isn't him just not being a good leader or being horrible. It's magnanimity from the leader. We are unworthy, but he survives enough and is dignified enough to let us live, despite our unworthiness. Ugh, God, I hate this. Basically, right away, no, people would know the score because they're being screwed over. But once you break people down to the point where being screwed over becomes the normal, being allowed to survive in a place where normally they could just kill you, even though you're still being screwed over, the thought process is that's kind of being nice to you at that point. It's, how to put it, it's the beaten dog syndrome. Whenever a dog's beaten over and over again by a horrible master and it still loves the master, any good thing, just not beating it, becomes praise, becomes good, and becomes positive reinforcement. It's one of the reasons it's so fucked up. And it's effective, not right away, but if it can be made a long time, or I guess remained or enforced over a long period of time where it becomes the normal, and considering a habit only needs about a month to form, probably a month or two, yeah, it's kind of fucked up, but that would actually happen.
Meeting quotas
not everyone,
rewarded with additional quotas. People
that's a
worked
mech,
their
isn't
fingers
it?
to the bone.
Oh
to
shit,
earn
that's
the
a mech.
Reward of bony fingers. Food and medicine were in short supply.
I mean, surprised
a
they even had
supply
any.
regulated by priority toward people Amaris saw as doing what he wanted. The
most
economy
ruthless
switched
assholes.
to a war footing as Amaris entrenched every world he could, building strategic...
Okay, I know there's always this design emphasis on how large certain mechs are, but holy shit, man, this is probably the largest mech anyone's ever shown. To give an idea, most people say the average mech is 2 stories, a huge mech is 3 stories, and the ungodly, crazy, highest, furthest on ones that apparently Tex has an issue with and are over 100 tons would probably be up to this thing's groin. Because if they're standing on what looks like an ocean platform, because there's sea spray, that thing's in the water. Maybe they're on the shore, maybe they're not. But this thing is probably 3 stories at the knee. From just how this is being drawn, this isn't just large. This is the over-the-top, oh my god level of I don't need mass comparisons anymore. There's some kind of tech in here negating gravity because this kind of weight is not physically possible to maintain. Which, honestly, I would fully expect to be a thing that is actually there and they just lost that tech in modern Battletech and they just kind of have it here and don't ignore it or even acknowledge it.
Weapons stockpiles
That's probably the
for
biggest
what he
mech. We only
saw
see a
as
small
the
part of it.
inevitable showdown.
Holy shit,
Factories were increasingly turned over to weapons production
Yeah.
and munitions production. Fuel and tires and uniforms were churned out in massive stockpiles and put away for the coming storm.
Because he knows it's going to happen.
Goods disappeared
Because
from
he's gonna fight
stores
Kerensky or everyone
nearly
else.
entirely, as supplies other than war material began to run low. While worlds were given increasingly ridiculous production quotas and exhaustive production schedules, this was complicated by Amaris continuing to raise armies and garrisons, further depleting the worlds of their effective labor forces.
I'd like to point out earlier I mentioned how when you have that broken down mentality on a person, it makes them used to it. Right now he's doing it on a much larger level, so he's doing it to the planetary, systems themselves. It's not just that he's getting them used to being broken down. At least at this level, it's getting it to the point where you can't have rebellion because you don't have enough food. Whenever you're literally pushed to the point of absolute, I need to survive, and there's nothing else, there's no downtime, there's no free time, when you are so broken and beaten down and just deprived of time and money and ability and possibilities, you're not going to rebel because you don't have the ability to stop to rebel if you'll starve otherwise. So, as much as I want to say this is just classic evil, for his type of evil, this is actually a very effective tactic. It will create hatred, and anyone who can get out of the trap of being stuck in basic survival will try to absolutely fuck him up, and very few people are going to be sympathetic to him. But I don't think he cares about that at this point, because the justification on his end is, I got the guns, and I have the guns you used to have, and a bunch more no one knew about. Yeah.
And some complained, stating they couldn't both raise armies and equip them. However, complaints were not acceptable under Amaris's regime. If a world complained or even reported food shortages, food was withheld and the entire world was punished. Troubles mounting, Amaris soon began to see problems everywhere. People refusing to believe in him were punished. Worlds he suspected of treason, he punished. Populations that pushed back were punished. The civilian situation increasingly worsened throughout the hegemony as Amaris squeezed the people for all they had. Food and medical supplies were soon in critical shortage, and he withheld them routinely as yet another measure of punishment. People begging to be fed was just another punishable crime in Amaris's new empire.
And partially that is psychosis coming to the front, because he lost control, even a small bit, during the fall of Terra, or Earth, when the Black Watch decided to be absolute mother goddamn badasses. Yeah. And this is probably the beginning steps. Like, we've already seen a bit of it, but this is just talking about how, no, you need to believe in me. I really, you need to believe in me. You say you're starving? No, you're lying. You need to die now. Ooh, you say you're starving? I'm not going to give you food because you don't believe you have enough food. I want to say this is also not supported by history, but technically in the Chinese, I think it was Cultural Reformation, prior to it happening, Mao put out polls and actual, Q&As about, hey, what do you think? And then he got the results. Because apparently, and this surprises me, they actually let him read the correct and actual beliefs of people. It did not go well for everyone else when he was like, oh, they don't like this. Fuck all y'all. I'm oversimplifying this to a high extent, but what Amaris is doing is Dictator 101. So much of it is just Dictator 101. Especially when they're feeling slightly threatened, they overreact, they hyper-control, and they create levers of power because it fucks over other people.
And after seeing the excesses of Amaris's consolidation of power, of the SLDF being deleted from the hegemony with nuclear, biological, and chemical attacks, of the bureaucrats being shot at their desks for refusing to move a stamp, most citizens realized they had to deal with the realities of the present rather than hope for a brighter tomorrow. After all, they'd seen those who resisted in the initial stages of the takeover being turned into radioactive sinkholes. Hope was, essentially, dead. Slowly but surely, the hegemony descended into a siege mentality, building stockpiles and defenses for the coming long war. Through excesses in human suffering, Amaris made significant headway. He reinforced the hegemony in ways the Star League never considered. He knew the shortcomings of Star League's extensively planned defenses,
because
he
took
found weaknesses in and exploited them after all. Through hard work and exceptional human suffering, he turned peaceful yet defensible worlds into hellish death traps. He reinforced every fortification for any conceivable attack, siege, or protracted battle. He ordered his men to drill exhaustively and to constantly train to avoid embarrassment.
Now, this I actually find interesting. This is definitely one of the older pieces of art, because this style of direct access artillery it definitely has an 80s feel, because anything done after the 80s would probably, say, because of all the computer usage here, be separated more. Like, you would have the fire control, and it might even still be close depending on how you want to set it up, but it wouldn't be at the point, because this way, if a shell hits, all of the technology associated with it to run it wouldn't be immediately destroyed as well. Or maybe Amaris just likes putting people here. Honestly, if someone told me, no, he has a design philosophy that I want the people who will die if they don't protect me to die with their guns. You know what? I'm not even sure that's real, but I actually fully believe it, having said that out loud. Huh.
Like the 4th Amaris Dragoons fighting mad bastards wearing kilts. He ordered the construction of bunkers, hardened defensive points, and extensive space-borne defenses as well. Please try to understand that Amaris, while having extensively prepared, knew the full might of the SLDF Navy, which was enormous and quite inclined to fuck things up if given the opportunity.
Yep.
The war in the stars went well for Amaris because his men got lucky, and after several bloody fights seized the space defense network. But he knew the bulk of the Navy would return with Kerensky, and so men were trained extensively on the operation of established space defense systems.
See this part right here? It's just because text brought them up so close together, between saying how his men were trained extensively against the enemy they know is coming, but having previously mentioned the mad bastards in kilts, who they also trained extensively because they knew that fight was coming. And you saw how that went. They won, but did they really? You're basically showing exactly what's going to happen because he brought them up right there. Because while we're not saying we know Amaris is going to lose, we know no matter what happens, it's not going to be good for Amaris more than anyone else. He's going to be the most fucked over. And I love that, because I really want to see this guy get fucked over with bad happenstance. I really need to clarify what I say sometimes. That said, I'm going to have to cut this one here because technically I am late and I had to go do something with my wife, and I just saw the time and I am in trouble. Yeah. So yeah, that's the third time we're checking out the second half of the Amaris Civil War from Text Talks Battletech. I love this. I love getting into it. I love seeing how things are coming together, how his paranoia is becoming more and more pronounced, and he's drawing from ways history has actually shown paranoid dictators act. It's like, I don't like this, but I can see the parallels to history, and that's a Battletech thing, but it doesn't make it easier to watch. It's just, it's there, and it's realistic, and it's believable, and it's frustrating because of all of that. And I am still looking at the time, and I am much later than I should have. I should have been. I had something I need to do with my wife. I promised to do it at 1, and it's no longer 1 o'clock anymore, and I need to go fix that. I'm in trouble. Crap. All the same, for everyone watching, you guys know the deal. Links below, original videos. Hit them up. It's Tex. You know he's good. Do that. Are we done? Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one if I survive to the next one, because I'm not sure I will. Later.